Alright, welcome back to the shop. We'll do a video. This video will be about this drill. I think if you can see that down there. We'll get to that in a minute, but before I can do that, I need to unload these saws. And there's a couple big one-man saws. I'd say, when I say big, I'd say what? 5 feet long, 6 feet long? So they're... Somebody's gonna get one for you. So we have some, I guess that could be a two-man technically. But we have quite a few of those and a bunch of two-man saws. I'm not sure how to deal with these things. If anybody has any tips on what to do with these, I know Greg does a lot with saws. Shipping is sort of cost prohibitive with these because they're so long. But how do you go about valuing these things? I'd like to keep a couple, but I don't need a dozen saws or 2 dozen saws. So if anybody has any tips on what to do or how I could sell these and subsidize the channel a little bit, I would appreciate any input. But all right, we'll get back to that other drill now and try to see if we can figure out what it's for and if we can clean it up. Welcome back to the shop. It's sort of a weird angle we're starting out at today because I've got a awkward tool and it's hard to get it all in the shop. This is a Hykon barn joist drill. I think, if the information I found so far is correct, this is designed to extend out to 13 feet long, and it is a manual strap drill. We can see some strap in there that is approximately 107 years old, if the date that I have on this is correct, circa 1913, 108 years old. There's the Hykon manufacturing. There's the 1913 date on there, serial number 8585, Alliance, Ohio. I haven't the foggiest idea how this works. No information on the internet. I found that it's worth nothing. I think I saw one that had sold for $30. But again, I don't do this for the money, obviously. But I do want to know how this works. And I don't plan on building a barn anytime soon. Not out of wood. But I think I'm going to restore this anyway. I know I'm going to restore it. So we're going to go ahead and I think just try to break this down as best I can. We've got wing nuts all over the place. I think this is a 3-tiered, at least 2-tiered extension there. And we'll try to break this down. I think the handle is just a handle at this point, and we will focus. The vast majority of this restoration will be on the upper working unit here, the prime mover, as they say. So let me go ahead and get this disconnected, and we'll see if we can take a closer look at this head. So there's obviously the wing nut on the back and a 4-jaw collet here. I'm going to assume that this is going to draw that collet in and that this will be threaded into there somehow. I'm not sure why I'm postulating these theories at this point. I should disassemble and see what it is. So let me go ahead and get to that and leave my thinkings aside for now. Ooh. There seems to be some sort of a 2-part nut. It doesn't seem to be a nut. I don't know what to call this. And there's a hole here, and then there's a pin that locks this collet in, and I cannot seem to get those to line up at this point in time. We can see that this watch spring here, it's a very robust watch spring. Apparently had some steel in it and it corroded. Well, I guess it must have all been steel. It's got some sort of a brass coating, some sort of, appears to be brass on it, but obviously brass isn't going to be springy like this. So spring steel, and it held moisture and rusted through. That belt probably probably acted like a sponge and held moisture in this. So at this juncture, I'm going to try to persuade I'm going to just keep tapping on this at a bunch of different angles and see if I notice anything moving. Right now I don't expect anything to. I've got a small brass pin, and I'm just going to poke around and probe and see if anything moves. I doubt it. I'm going to have to soak this in some citric acid and wash it off, and then that'll probably bring us back and give us a better look at what's going on underneath all this patina. I'm impatient. I didn't feel like waiting for the citric acid to clean this up, so I dusted it off with the Media Blaster, and I've been unable to try to free this section up, to try to get everything to align. They must be pressed on. I think I might tempt fate and see if I can lightly push on these and pull that off. Haha. Alright, so that's off. Let's hope the backside comes off. Okay, now we have a pin to punch out. There it is. I need to clean up behind this plate, and these are called slotless screws, and they drive in, and sometimes you can see them through the back, and I think I might be able to feel them, so I'm going to try to punch these out from the back. Alright, the first one started to go. I just got in there with the drift. I'm going to do the second one. I was able to get the plate off intact. I wish I could show you the close-up on that, but this is sort of analogous to when I was a child working with my dad. I'd be helping him somewhere holding the flashlight, and he would say, "Hold the light so I can see what I'm working on, not so what you can see what you're working on." And in the case of me trying to hit these little tiny slotless screws, they might even be brass dowels. The way this is, it's hard to say. They got to be slotless screws. It's hard for me to bring you along and see what I'm seeing. It's just the vantage point is so small when you're looking at these things. So, not to make excuses, but just to sort of let you know what's happening. So this will allow me to clean this up, and I can see that this was originally black. We'll probably go back with that color, and we'll try to clean this up and not degrade it any more than we absolutely have to. So, off to clean this up, and I think we'll do the citric acid with that. A lot of people ask me before to restore this little one, so while I've got a batch mixed up, I'm going to go ahead and throw this in here. So sorry to mix my projects together, but I'm going to make the use out of the material, the solvent, while I have it. So it's been 3 days. The citric acid does a real good job. I need to go back and clean up each one of these pieces now. You can see that by and large these are pretty clean, but it'll still need some scrubbing. In particular, this other piece must have, I don't even hardly recognize some of the stuff that's in here. So something must have come loose Anyway, let me go ahead and clean all this up and then we'll bring you back. The citric acid did a pretty good job getting rid of almost everything, but I think there were some parts that were just too far gone for it to really get in there and get everything, so I don't know what this is. But I need to pry, hopefully you can see that, pry all this stuff out of here, and hopefully the new quill spring that I have will fit, as well as some of this section in here. That's pretty rough. I'm gonna wait for this to dry out a little bit. I will add some brake parts cleaner to it or something to speed up the drying process, and then I'll dust this off in a sandblaster, and that should get me down to bare metal again. There's 3 extension parts to this drill, and there, of course, there's an inside and an outside. Cleaning up the outside is pretty easy. I'm just taking a DA sander to it, knocking off the rust, and then I take it to the fiber wheel, and that seems to be leaving a pretty good finish on it. Oh my gosh. While I was waiting on the paint to dry, I was working on the forklift, trying to put a starter in it. What a nightmare. They like put the starter in and then try to build the engine around it. I had to come, it's just a mess. I mean, I am just absolutely covered in schmoo. Whew, I got it out of there. What a chore. It's been a couple days, and I've gone through and cleaned up the vast majority of everything. You'll see the handle in a little bit, but I've went ahead and sandblasted and painted the housing, painted the inside red just because I wanted to. I've ordered some pieces as best as I could given the little bit of remnants that I had left over before. I bought some leather strapping, and I bought another quill spring, and I just roughly measured the width of what I had left over from before. I am not confident that this is a direct replacement, but I think that I should be able to make it work. I need to put the bushings back on, but where I'm at now is I need to recreate this. I'll probably disassemble it, reassemble it a couple times. And what I need to do now is figure out a way to reconcile the inside hook, if you can see that hole in there, is going to grasp onto this section of the arbor, whatever you want to call this. And then the outside section has a little bit of a hook there, and that is going to have to be modified to catch this section. And this is undoubtedly hardened spring steel, so I will have to excise the edge of this off of here and then drill a hole and then rewrap this. This has come bound together, and it's undoubtedly going to be a mess to work with when it becomes unsprung. But I don't think I have any other option other than to unspring this right now. So let me get some cutters and we'll get this on tape. Yeah, I'm going to look away. Hopefully I can... Oh, shit. Wow. I believe that this tang, this protuberance there should have been driven out further, and that this punch, that this burr, if you can see that, this burr should not be there, and then that the spring, the internal spring section, the narrower section, should be able to be received in there, and that is not the case right now. It's sort of acting like a ramp. So I'm going to take some jeweler's files or whatever they call them and file this down and see if I can't open that up. So I was able to file that down and then take a modified punch, a wedge, and shove it in there and pull this back out. Oh, and that fits like a dream. That is ideal. So that's nice. The bushings, I had to pull them off of there, of course, but they did not need to. They did not need to be pressed on, obviously. If you've ever put a new pull cord in a lawnmower, you'll understand the problem that I'm about to describe. If I coil this spring, and let's see if I can get you in here. If I coil this spring and have this piece of leather in there, if this leather does not have a handle or something to stop the motion once this is coiled, then it will just uncoil itself and I'll have a problem and I'll have to load this spring back up again and then fit the leather back in there, which will be, of course, be difficult. So I think what I might need to do is find some way to put a handle on this, and that's sort of an interesting problem in itself. I'm not sure how I want to do that yet, so I'll have to search around, but you might begin to see how this goes together. And of course the lock is down here, so I will coil this around multiple times. I guess I could lock it in now. Let me figure out what I'm going to do and bring it back. So I might have to dog this off somehow. I've got the spring loaded. I've just bound it up and then tensioned it. And if you see, watch my hand, you'll see this start to unfurl. And I've got to hold it down quite tightly. Otherwise the spring grows. You can see that spring start to creep out. Alright, so I will need to load this spring to the point where I can reassemble it. But not too tight that when I pull on the handle, I'm going to need, if I didn't mention this already, I apologize. This is how the work drill works. You know, you're pulling on this like a pull cord, like an outboard motor or lawnmower, is what spins the arbor and turns this into a drill. So I'll need to, and every time I pull it, we'll get tighter and tighter and tighter. So it would behoove me to have this just as slack as I possibly can. I don't know. I think we'll figure it out. So the amount of chowder that was on this thing was pretty astounding, and I could tell that there was some means of fastening the belt together. I don't know if they pushed it through here and doubled back, what they had done to it. But I did notice there was a hole here. So I went ahead and ran a 1/4 28 tap through it. And now I plan on putting this small flathead bolt that I sawed off in there, and hopefully we can get all this to line up. And then that will act as the retaining mechanism for this belt. So that bolt seated in there. I miscalculated the distance from the side, so I had to shave a little bit of the leather belt off, which makes it look a little cattywampus, because it is. But that won't be a problem because it will right itself. And I doubt that little bolt will be enough to be an impediment to the overall length of this. We're golden. There shouldn't be any sticking out, so I think we're good to go. Alright, well, I've got it I've got it together, sort of. That spring has got a lot of tension on it. I need to find 4 bolts. I have some of the original bolts that were a little crusty. Let's see if I maybe can't find something nicer, and we will reassemble this and then work on the handle. So I sawed off a bunch of, I know I'm gonna get comments. I used Allen head stainless. I didn't have any slotted stainless. They're harder and harder to get. The original bolts that came in here obviously were, flatheads. Whatever. But I had stainless steel nuts, these flange nuts with the locking knurls on the bottom. I really like these. I think it's mine. That's what I wanted to do, so that's what I did. So there. I do think flatheads would be better though. So I agree with you on that front. For those of you that are cringing right now. And then on this end, what I need to do is find some way to put a handle on here, and I don't know what I'm going to do yet, so let me dig around and we'll come back and find out some way to fix this. What I've got going on now is I have this steel ring, and I sort of flattened it out a little bit so that it sits nicely in here, and then I've made up a couple pieces of brass. This side is a through hole and this side is tapped. So I'm going to punch a couple holes through here and then use these to squeeze the leather together. And the reason for that is that this drill will extend out 15 feet or so, and I'll be able to hook a rope to here, so theoretically if you were actually going to use this, you'd be able to hook a longer rope onto it and you'd be able to pull on this. Otherwise, if you just had a handle, you wouldn't be able to utilize the whole length of this. So what I need to do now is fasten these things together, these pieces together, and that'll just become a sandwich. Put that together, and then we'll reassemble the handle. Alright. Hopefully this ring, so that, look at that. So the ring stays there. Ah, that is not graceful. But it seems to be retaining itself correctly. Alright, let's put the rest of this together. Alright, I hope you got good eyes if you're drilling with this sucker. Look at that. That's not fully extended. But the limits of the way my shop is right now, it's for illustrative purposes, that's enough. I think I got another foot here, another 2 foot there. What an interesting piece of machinery. I'm going to have to enlist some help here. He's going to help me guide this at first. I've got it shortened up now just for ease of use. So this is the hardest thing in the world to film. It's so hard so ungainly. But that's it. There's my leather repair with the little screws, this handle. It's an interesting tool. It does not work well. I mean, I shouldn't say that. It's not easy. It works perfectly, but it is not easy at all. You sit back and reef on this thing and pull and pull and pull and pull, and it does not work fast. The twist drills, every bit of motion you're going forward, it unscrews itself and then restarts, and even with the small drill it was painful in terms of just, you know, a lot of labor involved with it. But it's restored. It's going to hang on the wall. This is one of the few wall hangers that I will do. I can't think of an application where I would ever need this to drill 15 feet in the air or longer. And that's it. So I may have mentioned, depending on how I edited, I didn't plan on painting this, but when I got to the third piece, I noticed that there was paint all over it. So I figured if they painted it, I'd do the same. And that's it. So thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I hope you're having a good day. Alright, for perspective, that's my short wheelbase 1992 F-150. It is as long as a truck. Alright, thanks for watching.